again with another video for you. Welcome back to another episode here in Spad's YouTube channel. So today we're gonna talk about the things that I hate about my bike, the Yamaha MT15. So recently I just released a video about if you should buy the Yamaha MT15, which breaks down the features, pros and cons, and then my thought on whether you should buy the Yamaha MT15 in the current year or buying the new versions of the Yamaha MT15. So pusa yun, shit. So this video we're gonna talk about the bad side of the Yamaha M15, or the things that I hate about it, the details on why is that. Okay, so if this is the video that you're looking for, you know, to prepare you before you buy the Yamaha MT15, so that you will know what are the downside or the most hated parts of the Yamaha MT15 for us users, then this is the video for you. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so I have listed like a couple of things that I hate about the Yamaha MT15. So first off, when I bought the Yamaha MT15, the first thing that I didn't like about it is the seat height. Right off the bat, the stock is higher than most or compared to other MT15 lineup. Don't get mistaken that, you know, the seat is wider. It's just the build of the, you know, the frame, or the tank. It's actually thinner compared to the other brothers like the Yamaha MT-03, MT-07, and the MT-09, MT-10. It's actually much thinner on the thigh part, but the problem is it's really high. If you are a new rider or if you're a short rider, then it's a problem because you'll have to tiptoe all the way and it's very hard if you are driving through traffic and it's slow and you have to maneuver the bike through the cars in front of you. Then it's really a big problem. You'll have to maintain balance of the bike and at the same time carry the bike so you won't have to fall or you won't drop the bike. So that's the first thing that I hate about the Yamaha MT15. Now, if you're planning to buy the Yamaha MT15, then that's the first thing that you want to consider. So I would suggest to visit the dealer in the showroom, get on the bike. I want you to feel the bike if it's manageable for you for the height, because you will be riding the bike in cities. You'll have a plenty of times that you're gonna stop and go. So it's very difficult for you if you're a short rider if the bike is really high and you have to tiptoe. Okay, the second point that I hate about the Yamaha MT15 is the weight of the bike. The weight of the Yamaha MT15 is a problem if you are short. Combine it with the height of the Yamaha MT15, I find it mostly hard for me to balance it when I'm in traffic or I'm, you know, maneuvering to corners or doing the U-turns, and especially doing the parking of the bike. If you can't get a hold of your footing, sometimes can't get my balance because my footing can't hold the ground because of the height of the bike itself. Sometimes I miss my footing and then I drop the bike. So that's mostly the issue about the Yamaha MT15 because of its weight. So if you are thin and you think that you can't handle the weight of the bike, so I suggest that you test it out so that you can feel if you can manage the weight of the bike. The most difficult parts of dealing with the weight of the bike is when you have a back ride of or if it's two people that's riding the motorcycle, so it's added on the weight, so it's very hard to balance when you are dealing with traffic and doing the corners, stopping and going, emergency braking. So you know, if your back ride is not used to riding the bike, your back ride is not used to, you know, leaning with you when you're doing the corners or when you're turning, so that's a big problem for you. I have a lot of situations that I have a heavier back ride with me when I'm riding, and I find it difficult to flick the bike. It's not more agile, so that's the downside. That's the second downside that I'm gonna mention. So make sure that if you go to the dealership and then ask for the bike, make sure that you weight the bike, if you can flick it by yourself, if you can manage it. Okay, so that's number 2, the weight of the bike. Okay, so right now we are on the third thing that I hate about the Yamaha MT-15. The third thing that I hate about it is the suspensions of the bike. Right off the bat, the rear suspension of the bike is actually much stiffer, much harder than the front suspension of the bike. Now, the rear suspension is good. It's stiffer because of the, you know, the torque of the engine. It actually prevents the bike from being wheelied. So that's why it's stiffer back there. Now, the problem with that is when you are light and not a heavy rider, your ride will not be comfortable in any way. You're gonna feel the bumps, the lumps, and all of the road that can give you. So the problem with that is when you are going for a long ride, your back is gonna suffer. That's the first thing that you're gonna notice about the Yamaha MT-15. Now the problem is the stock rear suspension of the Yamaha MT-15 is not adjustable when it comes to rebound and dampening, something like that. So if you can see, most of the mods that are being changed in the bike is the rear suspension or the suspensions of the bike. You can offset that if you have a box on the back of the bike so that the weight on the rear can offset the springs, or if you have a back ride which can, you know, dampen the strength of the springs, the monoshock at the back. So that's the rear suspension. That's the thing that I don't like. The another thing is the front suspension. Now the front suspension is soft. I know that they have designed it for city use, but the problem is that oh my god, fucking chicken. Now the problem with the soft suspension is that when you are cornering hard, the bike tends to, you know, lunge forward when you are cornering, especially when you're braking or trail braking when the corners. The problem was that the back of the bike, or the rear tire of the bike, it gets to, you know, raise up during those tight corners. So mostly of the Yamaha MT-15 users experience this every time that they do cornering. They say that the rear tire is actually slipping. It's actually not because of the rubber or the tires of the bike. It's because of the front suspension. Now we have the same issue with the Yamaha MT-07 from the older models before. That's the issue of the bike. So that's the third thing that I don't like about the Yamaha MT-15. Okay, so the next thing that I don't like about the Yamaha MT-15 is actually the seat comfort of the bike. By far, this is the most thinnest seat that a bike has ever had. You can say that I'm really, you know, nitpicking or just taking shots at the bike, but if you're a long user like me, I'm almost riding the Yamaha MT-15 for 2 years now, you can definitely feel the effect of the thin. Wow! Woohoo! What's up, lanes? Bagong yung daan dito, pre! Woohoo! Okay, so the effect of the thin seat is when you are doing long rides, basically above 4 hours and above riding, and the seat, you can definitely feel numbness on your butt. So that's not a good sign if you're after for a comfortable bike. Now if you're gonna take your bike to a long distance riding, like 1 day of riding, so it's not ideal. You'll have to get like aftermarket cushions so that your butt won't suffer for the whole ride. So that's one side of the Yamaha MT-15 that I don't like. Next thing that I don't like about the Yamaha MT-15 is that it lacks water prevention for both wheels. I don't know if it's just me or it's just the way the bike is built. Some of you might say that the Yamaha MT-15 is built for touring, and it's really not the case, because you're riding a motorcycle and you are exposed to all of the elements. Well, it's not just rain that I'm complaining about. Even when it's just wet on the pavement, man, the water automatically goes up on the rear seat, even onto the radiators and up to the knee part of the bike. So that's one thing that you need to consider when you're buying this bike. It's not like it's a scooter that the excess water from the road is very minimal, close to nothing. The Yamaha MT-15 is opposite to that. It will definitely get all of the water up over your knees. Maybe you're gonna say that you can buy aftermarket extended mud guards for that, or tire huggers for that. Trust me, I've looked everywhere. I look everywhere for those aftermarkets, and I've tried. Unless you're gonna cover the whole tire, the front and the rear tire when it rains, then there's no stopping for the water to come up. Maybe when they decide the Yamaha MT-15, it's built like a naked bike, that's why you're exposed to that. So if you're into like cleanliness, you don't want worry about cleaning all the time of the bike when it rains, because in our country we have 6 months of rain, 6 months of wet and dry season. That's something that you need to consider. Okay, so to stop here so I can discuss the next thing that I hate about the Yamaha MT-15. The next thing is that the Yamaha MT-15 doesn't have front and rear ABS. Now, for me, it's not a problem, but because of the price point of the Yamaha MT-15, we could have gotten a dual ABS for the bike. Now this version is for the Philippines, and we don't have ABS. In India, Thailand, and Indonesia, they have single channel ABS that comes with the bike. So because of its price point, the Yamaha MT-15, it should have had more features that comes with it. So, but I don't know why they don't have ABS here in the Philippines. So that's one that I don't like about the Yamaha MT-15. Okay, as you can see, as I've showed you earlier, all of this splatter, it's not even raining. I just drive through the wet pavements, and it's like that, if you can see. Looks like shit, and you have to clean it up when you get home, but I'm very lazy, so I leave it just there. Okay, because of the lack of the ABS of the bike, the next thing that I hate about the Yamaha MT-15, oh my god, let's go. As I've said earlier, is the price point of the Yamaha MT-15. It's a bit higher compared to most of the 150cc bikes, the competitors of the Yamaha MT-15. But when it first came out, I know that it's the only one with slipper clutch, the 150cc category, the only one with the slipper clutch, that is. But for me, it's not a justification of its price point. It's much more higher much more that right now in the current lineup or the current release of the Yamaha MT15, all of other 150cc bikes that is comparable to the Yamaha MT15 have slipper clutches as well, ABS, all the bells and whistles of that. The budget is an issue for you. Yamaha MT15 is much more steeper on that high and that end, so that all depends to you. But for me, that's my complaint of the Yamaha MT15. But when I bought this bike, it was actually not the price point that I am much more concerned. I was actually more drawn into the looks of the bike. That's the one thing that got me, brought me away from the price point of the bike. Okay? The last thing that I'm gonna discuss, which I hate the most about the Yamaha MT15, is its lights. Now, just for your information, the two lights right here, this is actually aftermarket lights. The only lights that comes with the Yamaha MT15 stock is this two and the main light. The main marketing for the Yamaha MT15, they're gonna market the looks and the lights of the Yamaha MT15. I will admit that the Yamaha MT15 lights and the looks is very unique from all of the 150cc bikes out there. There's no bike that is looking this good out in the market. The lineup of the MT series, the Master of Torque series, is very, very different compared to all other lineups. Now, the problem is, because of that projector headlight, is that it's not really powerful when it comes to night riding. It lacks the shine of most of the bikes, but I don't know if it's an issue as well with all of other bikes, because I can see all of the owners of these bikes are buying those aftermarket headlights or aftermarket mini driving lights. I don't think that is just me, but that's the one of the things that I don't like about the Yamaha MT15 right here. So if you're like me, buy some mini driving lights so that you can see if you're driving through dark roads, especially when there's no street lights that's gonna guide you. If you're just city riding, then that's not a problem with the Yamaha MT15. You can definitely light your way with the help of street lights. But if you're like me, that I go to the remote places of the Philippines, sometimes, well, most of the times, the street lights of those areas do not work and it's really pitch black, and I need some extra lights to guide me, to show me the way, okay, so that I won't go over to the side of the road. Okay, so those are the things that I don't like about the Yamaha MT15. So let me recap. We have the weight of the bike, the height of the bike, both of the suspensions are meh. The seat comfort, the lack of protection when it rains or going through wet pavements, no ABS for its price point, and the lack of features for the steep price point of the bike, and especially the lights of the bike. So if you are planning to buy the Yamaha MT15, then those are the things that you need to consider when buying the bike. So make sure that you feel the bike when you are on the dealership. Get on the bike, feel the height, feel the weight, consider what I'm saying to you, or consider or make some research, and then so that you will see what are the other reviews of, or what are the other reactions of the owners of the bike. That's it for our video for today. I know it's a short video. I have follow-up videos to the Yamaha MT15 since that I'm coming to my 2-year ownership, the Yamaha MT15. There are other things that I would like to tell you, to help out those other guys that are planning to buy the Yamaha MT15. I will help you out to convince you, or maybe to guide you on whether you should buy the Yamaha MT15. So this is it. As always, if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and follow my social media accounts, okay? And as always, I will see you guys in the next episode, okay? Bye!